Have you ever wondered why Surah Al-Kafirun, one of the first chapters many Muslim children memorize, is so direct and powerful? It feels like a firm line drawn in the sand. But what was the story behind it? Who were these people who dared to negotiate with the Prophet of God, trying to blend their beliefs with his? And most importantly, what does a 1400-year-old declaration mean for us today? In the early days of Islam in Mecca, the leaders of the Quraysh tried everything to stop the Prophet's message. They tortured the new Muslims, placing heavy rocks on their chests and burning their skin, demanding they renounce their faith. But the believers held firm. When persecution failed, the leaders decided to change their strategy. They would try to buy the Prophet. They offered him immense wealth, the most beautiful women in Mecca, and even leadership over them all. But how can you buy someone who has been promised Al-Kawthar, the river of abundance in paradise, by God himself? Their attempts were useless. Frustrated and out of options, one of the most cunning leaders, Walid ibn al-Mughira, came up with a final, desperate plan. He told the others, "It's clear we can't force them to change, so let's compromise." They approached the Prophet with what they thought was an irresistible deal. They said, "O Muhammad, let's make an agreement. For 1 year, we will worship your God, and for the next year, you will worship our gods. This way, we can all get along." Imagine the audacity of this proposal. They were asking the Prophet to mix the pure monotheism of Islam with the idol worship of their ancestors. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, listened to their offer, but remained silent. He didn't say yes or no. He simply walked away, leaving the Meccan leaders in suspense. Days turned into weeks. The city buzzed with rumors. Had the Prophet considered their offer? Why wasn't he responding? His silence was unsettling. Then the answer came. It wasn't from the Prophet himself, but directly from God. Jibril descended with the divine revelation, Surah Al-Kafirun. The Prophet gathered the leaders and recited the words that God commanded him to say. "Say, O disbelievers, I do not worship what you worship, nor are you worshippers of what I worship, nor will I be a worshipper of what you worship, nor will you be worshippers of what I worship. For you is your religion, and for me is my religion." This wasn't just a rejection, it was a powerful and final declaration. The word kafirun here isn't a casual insult. In the Quran, a kafir is someone who knows the truth but actively denies and fights against it. These weren't just people who disagreed, they were the ones who had persecuted believers, tried to bribe the Prophet, and were now attempting to corrupt the very foundation of his message. Tawheed, the absolute oneness of God. The repeated phrases in the surah, like, "I do not worship what you worship," are not just poetic repetition. They are an expression of divine emphasis, like a parent sternly telling a child, "No, I said no, and I mean it." God was making it crystal clear. There is no middle ground, no compromise on core beliefs. The line between monotheism and polytheism cannot be blurred. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. The final verse, "For you is your religion, and for me is my religion," isn't a statement of modern-day tolerance in the way we might interpret it. In this context, it was a disavowal. It meant, your path of disbelief is your own, and you will face its consequences. My path of submission to the one God is mine, and I will be judged by it. It was a complete and total separation. This surah was a slap in the face to the leaders of Quraysh. Their last hope of containing Islam through compromise was shattered. They realized the Prophet would never waver. This absolute refusal intensified their anger, leading them to impose a brutal 3-year boycott on the Muslims, cutting them off from food, water, and all trade. So, what does this 1400-year-old story mean for us today? First, it teaches us the weight of the word kafir. It's a severe term, reserved in the Quran for those who actively and stubbornly reject the truth after it becomes clear to them. We should be extremely cautious about using it for fellow Muslims who might be struggling with their faith or making mistakes. A person who skips a prayer is not the same as someone who tried to make the Prophet bow to an idol. Our duty is to guide with kindness, not to judge with harsh labels. People can change. A sinner today can be a saint tomorrow. Only God knows what is truly in the heart. Second, this surah is a powerful reminder about compromise. In our daily lives, we make compromises all the time. But this chapter teaches us that when it comes to the core principles of our faith, the pillars of our belief in God and His message, there can be no negotiation. We live in a world that often asks us to bend our values to fit in, whether it's dealing with interest-based loans, engaging in gossip, or bending ethical rules at work. This surah challenges us to ask ourselves, are we Muslims only during our 5 daily prayers, or are we living as servants of God 24/7? It's a call to live with integrity, to be unapologetically Muslim in our character and actions, even when it's difficult. Being a true Muslim means your principles are visible. It means there's a clear line you will not cross. The story of Surah Al-Kafirun isn't just history. It's a timeless lesson in conviction, integrity, and the uncompromising nature of truth. It reminds us that our faith is not a commodity to be negotiated, but a sacred trust to be upheld. Thank you for watching. I hope this deep dive was beneficial. If you found value in this, please consider liking and subscribing for more content like this. Assalamu alaikum.